It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. From the winter of despair during the pandemic for the media and entertainment industry, when it saw a contraction of 24%, it appears a spring of hope is around the corner for this sector as growth estimates peg a rebound this year to create a springboard for doubling revenues to 2.68 lakh crore rupees by 2025. As digital consumption of content drives up the need to gather and make sense of consumer data, the confluence of tech and entertainment has transformed the entire ecosystem, with players across the video, experiential, textual, and audio space working together with digital transformation enablers to create unique and engaging customer journeys. This is your front row seat to witness those exciting growth stories underway in this space as part of the Mint think tank. The fourth episode of the series titled Connecting with E-Experiences, the confluence of tech and entertainment presented by Salesforce, you will get to hear insights, strategies, and solutions from leading players in the tech and media space in converting big data to Dil Mange More from consumers. I'm your host, Gautam Srinivasan, and let me quickly introduce our panel of leaders for today. Starting with the technology transformers, including Vikrant Chaudhary, Vice President for the FinServe and Enterprise Business at Salesforce India, and Chandar Vanshu, Associate VP for Global Sales Enablement at Tata Communications. On the media and platform side, media and entertainment platform side, we are joined by Rajiv Bakshi, CEO for Revenue at Z Entertainment, Zuvindu Bar, CEO for the digital business at Shemaru Entertainment, and Vivek Pandey, COO at Ghana.com. Thank you everyone for joining us for what promises to be a wide-ranging conversation that is rich in content and experience. So let's start by understanding the broad trends that are shaping up in the industry, both from an external and internal perspective. To kick things off, Vikrant, let's come to you. As India embraces digital, especially for media consumption, we see technology doing a lot of heavy lifting behind the scenes. AI, for example, is changing ad sales, especially in segmentation and retention, while digital workflows are helping cut down production time for content. So take us through interesting key trends that can open a new chapter of growth for this space and the variety of transformations that Salesforce has enabled in this area to help customers in unlocking the value of their data to achieve positive outcomes.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you for this opportunity, and thanks for joining us today. I'm proud to have a panel where both on the consumption side of the house, we have leaders here, and as well as the service provider side of the house. It's rarely you find both coming together. And I'm also proud that I do have customers on both sides in this panel in that sense. What pandemic has done to digital transformation is, I think, acceleration is the only key word. We saw it. Working over time, doing almost like double shift in the speed of coming up with the product offerings, but not the offerings only from our side, but also offerings from our customers, and enables both the digital ecosystem providers like of telecom operators. We have Chandar here on this panel. I mean, their companies have pivoted, and the consumption side, or whether it's Rajiv's business or Zumin's business or Times Internet part of the house, everybody I think has innovated. The two killers, key pillars of this innovation aspect has been, I would say, I'll peel the onion in two parts of B2B businesses and B2C businesses. B2C businesses is where consumption is happening, and that in lockdown times, I think maximum consumption happened on the OTT side of this country, and hyper personalization was one trend where everybody tried to innovate in our customer segments on trying to read as segment of one. Okay, why they did that? Their own business models were either subscription led, which is like, so whether you check out Ghana.com or in any OTT player, etc., on consumption side, or ad sales led. Okay, and we were actually innovating at the back end. We went through an acquisition process a few quarters back, acquired a company called Velocity, formed it into a offering called Salesforce Industry Cloud. We used to do horizontal offerings changing into vertical industry relevant vocabulary and a data model. And thankfully for communication and media industry, we could launch a communications cloud. We have launched a media cloud to cater to these two or three key requirements of ad sales management and subscription management on the B2C side. And on the B2B side, continue to solve that puzzle with much more speed on the acquisition, onboarding, customer service, which are the three key pillars of sales service marketing that we began our strength areas with, which are horizontal in nature. But summarizing, we give acceleration by launching industry cloud offerings and in much more greater detail. Did both the acceleration on a B2C side for ad sales management and subscription management, and on B2B side, enhanced our service offerings of sales and service to learn the telecom vocabulary much more easier. So we know how order management works, how unified product catalog works, how guided sales works, and we are not really talking a horizontal terminology of just service tickets. We are talking resolution times in the language that this industry understands. So I think that's been the pivot of last few quarters of our learning and collective outcome.
All right. Acceleration was the theme, whether it's B2B or B2C. And considering, the services coming out from me, I'd love to hear the stories from the consumption side to see how they managed to leverage digital transformation efforts in the service of their customers. So let's start with you, Rajiv. The Z 4.0 strategy came out right in the middle of the pandemic with the goal to create a digitally adept data-first company that leads in all formats of content consumption across India and key international markets. But I want to understand from you broadly, how do technology-led transformations help players in the media and entertainment space improve existing monetization opportunities and develop new revenue streams? Because as the famous phrase goes, show me the money.
Right, Gautam. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. So I would like to take you about 2 decades back, considering that's the amount of time I spent in media. And I've heard this word transformation since then. So we have to kind of first accept that transformation in media is continuous. It's not an event, it's a quest. It's a journey which has happened for the last 20 years in multiple trigger points, and some been internal, some been external. Obviously, so transformation in that sense I want to address has been a continuous thing in media. And I don't think it's never been short of excitement in that sense. So far as the digital component is concerned, and obviously the digital journey also spent about maybe 10 years back, and I'm talking more from a monetization point of view. The experience journey started much earlier. And in media, I think the monetization journey started roughly around 10, 12 years back. And today, I believe Facebook has reported $1 billion plus turnover. So that's kind of a journey of a giant like Facebook in India, kind of reaching a landmark figure. After, I would hazard to say, at least 10, 12 years beyond its history in India. For us, I think we look at media in 2 buckets. One, of course, is what we call the linear television. And we have worked a lot, and we used to be very happy in that sense of personalization, which we used to call that we have customized our content to the audience. That happened by spelling by genres. We had entertainment genres, we had movie genres, and music, the news, and kids, and so on and so forth. So we are very proud of that journey that we have taken care of, segmenting audiences and segmenting products for that. Thereafter came the second journey of doing a language cut of it. So we could do in Tamil. So today we have channels in 11 languages, from Bhojpuri, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Punjabi, Odia, Bangla. And again, it is a very fascinating journey and very exciting journey and very fulfilling journey, especially from a monetization point of view. It had its own challenges, but I think that's the part that we did very, very successful in television.
Is that the secret of your success? Hyper localization and then using digital tools to do that?
He's been ahead of the curve, not just now, for the last 30 years. It's always been ahead of the curve, whether it's realizing a segment or a pocket of growth and actually doing the organic way. So I think Z has been at forefront of doing organic growth, and by identifying these pockets of growth, by nurturing them. Like we were one of the first channel in Odia market in that sense, from national broadcast, or in, let's say, market like even Punjabi today, which have an overlap with, let's say, the Hindi business of ours. So in that sense, this is more like the creative destruction kind of approach. However, when it comes to now the word digital, right? The D word. Now, of course, digital is there everywhere. When it comes to entertainment, ZEE5 is kind of been again ahead of the curve for the last many years. It's been there. And I will not answer from a consumer point of view, because I think that is well versed. Everybody knows that content has become very personalized from a consumer point of view. My exercise, my job where I've joined the company is more about how do we now personalize this entire data piece, the consumer piece, from a sales client point of view. How do I personalize to a need of a cryptocurrency client, to a, let's say, a CPG client, or to an auto client? How do I use data, consumer, and inventories that we create through it to satisfy my clients, which are having the highest of expectation? This is what we were talking earlier. You said there's a realms of data which is coming in digital, which was not there in television. And absolutely right. I think we have tons more data, right, in digital. Yet you will see a famous narrative everywhere saying that I'm not satisfied with the kind of data. We're not happy with the kind of transparency. We're not happy with that kind of cuts and all of that. So the expectation, I think, in digital far exceeds what it's delivering. And it's delivering an awesome kind of innovation and option, which perhaps never existed on linear television. Yet,
as they say, picture abhi baki hai.
Absolutely. And I think it pictures ye badhti rahegi. This is like a frame which will keep expanding. I don't think we're ever going to reach to a point where we'll say this and this is the now less work. I think transformation for me in that sense is a journey. It's not an event.
All right, that's a nice headline then. Transformation is a journey, not an event. Well, I've heard of a song which reads, "Video killed the radio star," but I don't think that's true in a digital consumption world. So let's hear the audio side of the story here. Vivek, as India's largest commercial music stream service, what's Ghana's secret to delivering a highly engaging and personalized customer experience to a massive subscriber base of over 200 million monthly users, and considering the expectation of 10x growth in audio ad revenues this fiscal year, how do you see technology enabling you to cross the threshold of solidly being part of mainstream media plans from established brands?
I think, first of all, we have to understand that advertising is dead. Let me just begin by saying that. I think advertising is a bad word. I think
that's another headline right there.
Yeah, I think the way everybody sort of thinks of advertising, it has gone such a dramatic shift that even brands don't want to say that they are advertising. Everybody wants to go to the next level and say things like, we want to engage the customer, we want to influence behavior, we want to get into outcomes. I think advertising has such a bad connotation to it. People sort of try to stay away from that, I think. And we are seeing this in terms of the traditional models of this business going through rapid transformation the world over, right? Brands going direct, brands going programmatic, brands trying to do native direct integrations with the partners and publishers. So I think we look at largely this business as partnerships, and these partnerships today that are being forged between brands and publishers are largely based on two major pillars, I would say. One is audience, and the other is technology. And whoever is offering brands, the perfect combination of audience and tech, I think brands are going for that. So that's how we look at it. That's what we are building out the whole proposition on within Ghana. So I'll address both of these separately. Let me start first with the audience part of it. Audience as an industry is going through a very radical transformation right now. Thankfully, Google has given some breathing space to everybody, but it's just that, right? It's a breathing space, and the clock is ticking. And we have always been, as a group, and also Ghana in particular, has been very, very biased towards privacy and consent. So we do have a lot of audience data to the extent that privacy and consent laws allow us, and that is available to the brands to leverage. So that's on the audience side. And coming on the technology side, I think Ghana probably has the kind of innovations that are possible on the Ghana platform today. I don't think they're possible on any other OTT or audio platform. I think you can. So I talk about dynamic ads, for example. Dynamic ads are where you can take external information, like say the weather, or say a sports news, sports commentary, scores, or you can take the news. You can take those feeds. You can bring your own brand feeds in, and you can use the Ghana user data as well as other metadata, combine all of that together dynamically through our technology. And we use all kinds of voice to text and video to text kind of translation technologies to build a customized audio script on the fly for a user on behalf of a brand, and render it in real time. And all these parameters are configurable. So if it's raining in Delhi and you're selling pizza, and you want to reach out to the people who are interested in Kishore Kumar songs, for example, right? And you also have a brand proposition to sell. So you can give us all these feeds, we combine all of them in real time, and can create a very unique, differentiated experience with audience targeting delivered to you, right? So that's the dynamic ads. I think voice activated ads is another thing that we launched on top of that, where we are also bringing the element of interactivity, because I think voice technologies are picking up in a very big way, and Ghana supports that fully. So you can interact with the ad, using your voice. So we have done a lot of these campaigns recently where the ad will say choose option 1 or 2, and the user can say option 1, and then automatically a WhatsApp or a message triggers. I think all of us are familiar with these kind of things, and there are a lot of third-party vendors that are also providing that. But Ghana has built this whole thing in-house and customizable at every level. So I think that gives us the confidence about the numbers that you just talked about. The user base is there, but on top of that, I think there is the tech, and then there is the intelligence to deliver these native experiences to brands and engagement to the brands with their target audience, which they want to do. I think we're ready for that, and we always keep innovating more and more. Any brands have any further challenges to throw at us, we're very happy to take them on. So I think I'll just say once again that advertising is dead, but I think engagement is on, game on, and everything is possible. And I think we're very confident to doing the numbers that you just talked about.
I think that's a fantastic ringside view of the exciting developments that are happening at Ghana itself. But as you said, ad is dead. Long live engagement. And it's all about a richer engagement between, say, the brands that you service and the customers that you service. And that is going to bring about new revenue opportunities. But you also mentioned the word partnership. So I'm going to use that word to hyperlink to my next question, which is to Zubin. Zubin, as a content fulcrum company for nearly 6 decades, as you described once in an interview, Shemaru Entertainment has kept a hawk eye on emerging consumption platforms and today services customers through either B2B or B2C routes via partnerships with telcos, OTT players, social media platforms, and DTH providers, along with developing its own platform. Now, you mentioned that each of these become a separate line of business under one large umbrella. So will that model remain the same, especially considering today's hyper-competitive digital content landscape? Or is technology to bring in more convergence of your content route to a single platform?
So Gautam, firstly, thanks for having me here. As far as Shemaru is concerned, we have been around for the last 6 decades odd. And I think in any such journey, you always have one part of the equation which is fixed. And our fixed part of the equation has always been content and video content. And we've always said that wherever the customer is and wherever he's consuming this video content, we'll end up there, whether it's through the B2B route or the B2C route. That's been our thinking. And that's probably why we've had so many different kinds of intermediary arrangements or discussions or even partnerships that have actually emerged, which is where these business lines have actually emerged from. So whether it is actually getting customers to consume, I mean, in the days of yore, it was all about video cassettes. And then it moved to saying he's moving to DVDs and VCDs. So we moved there. And then it went into mobile entertainment and working with the telcos on mobile VAS and stuff like that. So then we moved in there. Then came the early onset of YouTube and the likes of digital content, probably the first light of day of, some sort of an OTT offering, because YouTube is the world's largest OTT today. So from there to actually working with other television elements, like creating a DTH paid service platform, so value-added service on DTH. Our fundamental premise has been follow the customer's journey on the medium of consumption. And I think that is what has led us to even bring up so many different kinds of businesses on consumption of content. Now coming to how kind of married we are to each of these platforms, we're not. Okay, so the idea is that whenever we see the technology sunsetting, we will sunset from that space and move on. So like we saw DVDs sunsetted and moved into digital, so we moved there. YouTube is still around and very much growing. We are very much there. And
So
when
it's
we
a
saw
hedge
OTT,
of your bets. So your idea is it's a hedge for your bets.
it's a hedge, and not just hedge. I think from a consumer point of view, Gautam, we also look at it more like saying, where is the customer, and let's follow the customer out there itself.
Mm.
Now, this has been our strategy for the last probably 3 years back. And when about 3 years back, we took a conscious decision to gradually pivot to B2C businesses. And that's when the emergence of our own OTT came into play. When we started off the entire OTT game as well, we said, let's start off by understanding the OTT game by playing it ourselves. And the OTT piece was all about saying content, customer acquisition, and connectivity. All these three are about costs. I call it the 3 C's as I normally call it. You have to invest in content. You have to invest in telling your customers you have great content. And when all that comes true, you have to pay your CDN guys and make them laugh away to the bank with all those heavy checks. So the fact is that those are 3 costs that you have to manage. Now, how are these 3 costs going to be managed? They get managed more from a subscriber point of view, saying subscriptions from end users who pay you, or the advertiser who pays you, or its partnerships who pay you. So somewhere this entire game has to kind of equate out and say it has to probably make some sort of money for the operator in some way, because there's no free lunch at the end of the day.
So how do you know you've not stretched yourself too thin then?
No, so what we are now doing is, as we said, we're pivoting now to a more B2C focused organization. We are now, we've created a lot of B2B partnerships on the OTT to start with. So the last 2 years, we started off with creating solutions for various B2B partners, something like what Rajiv mentioned, that we go across to every sector in the industry and say, we operate like a CaaS provider, content as a solution. You tell us your problem or you tell us your challenge and we'll come up with a solution for you, as long as that becomes a line item in my top line. And that's been our journey for getting into the OTT space. In the last quarter, however, we've also taken a conscious call to actually dive into the B2C direct space. And there we said, what is the game we play? We said, let's look at cohorts where we know there is a need and where we know there is definitely a dent that Shimaru can create. And that's where we've brought in one of our earliest cohorts, and we've just launched is Gujarati as a region. We have actually gone hammer and tong on content creation. We've created web series. We are getting in blockbuster films. We have plays and nataks that are on board, with a promise to a customer that on our OTT, we're going to give them one new piece of content every week. This is our first foray into the OTT space. And as I said, we're not married to technology. We're married to the relationship with the customer and how he enjoys and consumes us. And as long as he's enjoying this journey, we'll be there with him and he'll be there with us. And we're already seeing that happening.
I think that explains the perfect confluence of tech and entertainment, that it's now content as a service, perfectly encapsulates where we are in the journey. So we've heard the consumption side story. Let's also look at the customer enablement side story. And Chandra, I'll come to you for that. Tata Communications today manages a third of today's world internet routes, and with such a large base, how have you managed to create a great customer experience, and how has the customer behavior itself changed in the last 1 year, and how have you kept up as a result?
Yes, I think that's a good segue into that side of the fence. But first of all, I just want to say thank you, and I'm pleased to be connected here. So there are a couple of, I would like to take it in a couple of parts, right? First of all, yes, we are proud to be part of an ecosystem where we enable so much of a content or data flowing. At sometimes it's unimaginable to imagine it out that how much of a data flows through and the amount of data we are. And if you see, we have largely an enterprise play. I would say a B2B play, right? Mostly B2B play. And over the times, if we have looking at our customers, right? While the customers are really focusing upon the business continuity, but what we are also seeing from a co-panelist, it's not about the continuity only. right? It's about also about the business recovery and growth, because at the end of the day, as Zubin said, it's a cost. Somebody has to pay for it, right? So absolutely. So our goal and motive and focus always has been the customer experience. I would say we have sharpened our energies more towards that. How do we help and work very closely with our customer to help them adopt to the new working models? Because things have changed now, right? Things are not what they were. There is a shift, right? So how do we work very closely with the customers to help them adopt, right? How do we work with them to accelerate their time to market? Like I said, our play is largely in the B2B space, right? In the enterprise play we have, right? How do we work with them? And equally important is that how do we bring in the agility, resilience by giving them right set of tools to innovate, right? Redefine their, let's say, customer experience, their internal employee experience, and equally important, the supply chain experience, right? So I think that has been I would say, a consistent focus, which has got kind of a little bit amplified now. So that's a one part of our, I would say, focus. But for our customers also, what we actually did a couple of years back, we went to an internal big digital transformation, or what we call it digital business transformation. Keep in mind, we are the leaders in the digital ecosystem enabler. So digital, in some sense, comes naturally to us. We said, how do we look at it? How do we pivot some of our internal processes and make them customer-centric? They were already customer-centric, but we said, what else we can do? So therefore, we took a complete shift and kept the customer at the center and everywhere, so to speak, and evolved, revolved, reimagined, transformed our business processes. And maybe it's just a coincidence, we launched our new customer portal, TC to the raised power X, which is again on the back of the transformation. And I think Rajiv beautifully summed it up, right? It's not just about the transformation. It's like you just go there and you just leave it there. It's a continuous journey and I would say movement in that sense, right? So what we did was we rolled out this and complete a digital infrastructure layer, which was already there, but I think we revamped it out. And keep in mind, this was not just a face, right? What we did was we went behind the hood and converted all of our processes and make it customer-centric, right? So as to wow the customer experiences, we reimagined our internal processes and kept it, how would customer really consume it out, right? So these are the certain areas where I would say we continuously try to reimagine, evolve our processes, make them more and more customer-centric so that our customers are successful, right? For example, if they want to check many of the things that they can digitally. And what we said is, rather than saying we are a click away, we are saying we are a call away, we are just a click away, apart from many other things. So that's on the digital side. On the process side also, we evolved many of our internal processes. We strengthened our customer success management. We launched our customer success teams where we look holistically the journey the customer is going through, because our customers are really complex. I think Vivek touched upon it, Rajiv touched upon it, Zubin touched upon it, the complexity which are there. So we evolved and revolved around it out, and just to be a click away with a similar level of experience what you would have when you are meeting face to face.
Absolutely. Well, if it's content as a service, it needs to be a click away. But it's amazing how conversations on this topic itself have reached such a point that it's almost unimaginable. If 10 years ago we had a conversation, it would be far, far more different. So let's extend that thought on the possibilities of what happens when tech and media come closer together. And Vikrant, you've heard all the speakers give their experiences and insights. What's your perspective on the next level of applying, say, CRM or analytics and marketing automation in enabling media enterprises to simplify their tech stacks and break down internal data silos in the service of one goal, which is to convert customers to fans? For example, how can enterprises, say, automate experience at consumption levels to appear seamless and intuitive, yet effective for customers, and then drive that impact at scale?
So Gautam, I think as a segue from where Chandar left and Rajiv beautifully explained, and Vivek's own journey on building those dynamic pieces that he was talking about. If you look at it, we've been fortunate to work with clients and create this with agility at our end. We've been among the most innovative company for last 7 years in a row. We have brought out product offerings at speed and scale. And with what I earlier described as evolution happened from being a CRM system at the initially to what I call today as a stakeholder experience platform. We are adding capabilities to it. We are understanding industry specific, or rather I should say sub-industry specific. We already explained consumption side and a digital service provider side. As these nuances have changed from, say, a communication provider, service provider to a digital service provider, or from a broadcaster to what should I say, as a catalog of digital consumption media, okay, so to say, we have also evolved to become not just a CRM or an experience platform, but for this industry, a digital BSS system on cloud, okay, which is like in telecom terminology, we used to have a front office, mid office, back office thinking, or a OSS, BSS thinking, operating support systems and business support systems. So over the years, we have evolved ourselves into understanding the industry nuances and vocabulary pretty well, became a experience platform, a one engagement platform to the keyword of engagement that Zubin mentioned earlier. So we've become like a one engagement platform glue, a digital BSS system on the cloud. And since the method of consuming everything, it's like a no software world, software as a service, content as a service on Zubin's side. On our side, it's been a software as a service as a method of consumption. So I think that's where the journey has been, and the future is getting hyper personalized at B2C end. So it's always continue to evolve on and fine grain itself to older term thinking of VHS quality to CD quality to DVD quality. I think we will know more, much more about the customer thanks to the digital consumption, because in any digital consumption, the data is factual, it is behavioral, it is at that point in time, and it is not being churned out through certain models. It's right customers, real touch. And because it's a real touch, all of whether a B2B enterprise or a B2C enterprise will actually have much more knowledge about that. And when you know more, you can do more is a constant piece at our end. The same software capability, since you know more, you could really do more, create products at scale, at speed, and dynamic experiences like Vivek mentioned in his part of the house. I think we will continue to evolve and get richer, but the future is very bright, and at some places, I think we will less control it. We will rather orchestrate it. I mean, that's where it is.
Well, it's know more and grow more. But another subset of that conversation of growing more is how do you measure yourself up, or how do you build yourself up against the competition? How you understand the competition, then you act accordingly. So let's see how that pans out. Rajiv, you mentioned, you have a linear and non-linear business. In terms of linear programming, one gets limited viewership data from external agencies, but it is universal with comparison to competitors. But in the non-linear space, you have a richer source of consumption data for your platform without any third-party intervention, which prevents comparisons to competitors. So how do players in this area in general build consumer strategy to improve acquisition and reduce churn, while also understanding how the broad consumer market is shaping up?
If you were to ask me to obsess over one thing, data or consumer experience, it's a tough call, but I would go for consumer experience, because data in that sense, no matter how much you have, it still will tell you half the story. I don't think there's any piece of data which has told you the full story. And I often say to my team, data often hides more than it tells. So you can keep getting more data, and you can keep getting data scientists to analyze it. But I think your obsession has to be on the other side, which is about customer experience. To me, customer experience has been the catalyst of change for digital. I don't think data has been the catalyst. I mean, I personally hold the view that, and I'm going to use the word that you created earlier, which is fans. I think every company today is obsessed, or should get obsessed, about creating super fans. It started with an analogy in sports, but I think every industry, from FMCG to fast food chains to even media, all we want to create is super fans, because we know what the value super fans create. And that brings us to the biggest challenge. The challenge is, never before customer experience or customers looking at experience and benchmarking across sectors, especially in the digital world. My experience on an OTT platform, the customer will benchmark me to his experience on perhaps a mobility device or his experience on a airline booking system. So what digital has done is made it so tough that you do not need to be the best in your sector or your own field, but you got to be best across sectors. And that's like it again earlier, it's like a quest, right? It's a never ending, because
never-ending quest.
there are better players, there are always better technologies across different industry, not necessarily your own. So you could well be satisfied to be leader in your own category, but I think obsession has to go beyond your own category. And now, because of digital, I think that's really what has happened and changed our mindset. And I'm glad there's so many partners on this call, and everybody that we work in entire ecosystem. I think everybody is obsessing about the same thing, which is about the experience, engagement, and satisfaction of the customer. And so long, and I think now we come to a point where every participant in the ecosystem is focused on that part, which is the experience and obsession about that. And I think therefore I think we covered a journey of 100 years in about 1 year. I mean, so it's a long journey that we covered in a very short time. And I think while of course we are critical of ourselves, but I think there are times that we should pause and kind of congratulate each other about where we have come. And again, to your point, 10 years back, we may not have had a discussion like this, may have thought like very futuristic or maybe something out of a fiction story, but today is a reality. To tell you a little, product that we are, very, very excited to launch is basically, we're watching this video, Gautam, with everyone here, but at any time we can pause this video and actually check out your tie, where it is from, what price, and I can purchase it. I can go to a shelf of yours, click on the book, and while the video is continuing, you're enjoying entertainment, you can do so much more on transaction on the video. Now, things like this, were more like Star Wars imagination, but this is a reality today. And I think it's happened because of the players, participants, someone called, some otherwise, who are all obsessing about that. And I think we are much more focused about that. What's happening in perhaps in a different sector, which is not immediate competition to me, but has an impact on my consumer's life. And therefore his expectation or her expectation from me will be similar in weight and measurement. And I think I would obsess about that, then saying, do I get my viewership data and how do I classify that? Because we have about 100 trade clusters. So if you want to chase and let's say you want to target moms, or you want to target working dads, single dads, you want to target pet lovers, you want to go for grandparents. There are so many other cohorts that one is created now, and you can easily target them, right? Zubin mentioned about that. I think my colleague from Ghana also mentioned about you can do so much more targeting, and so to speak, in different forms and style. So all that is happening. But to me, that's an outcome of what you really are obsessing about. I don't think that is what we're targeting. We're targeting something else. These are all byproducts of what our obsession is. So I would want to be obsessed about customer experience, and I think everything else will flow from there.
So we've gone from customer is king to customer experience is king. But it's also about, as you gain more fans, more super fans, it's also about harmonizing subscriber models. And I'll come to Vivek for that. Vivek, Ghana comes under the large Times Internet banner, which also includes other market leading products such as MX Player, TOI, ET, and India Times, to just name a few. In such a case, how does the enterprise, harmonize subscription models across ad-funded, subscription-based, and premium user models across platforms and products? And how does technology help in achieving positive outcomes there?
I would just like to start by saying that Times Internet should not be thought of as a banner. I think it's not just Ghana. I think all the names you took, I think be it Ghana or MX or ET Money or Dine Out and all the various businesses that are there, I think they are all independent businesses with their own independent strategies in their own right. I think Times Internet has just been probably like an incubation center for these businesses where they all sort of came out from. But I think on an ongoing basis, does Ghana do too much, guided by Times Internet or governed by Times Internet? Not really. I think they are a pretty independent business. But yes, I think what Times Internet gives to all the businesses in the family, I think is a very robust platform. which is the technology platform or the data platform that all of us sort of hook onto and try to extract benefit from it. Having the data of 600 million user profiles in one place, I think is a goldmine that we as part of the Times Internet family are fortunate to have access to. The recommendation engines, for example, that we build at Ghana, rely on use that data. As I know that all the other businesses at Times Internet are able to use that data to some extent, howsoever the privacy laws and everything allows us. And then, all the technology that's there in terms of single sign-on and, loyalty platforms. So I think technology enablement and, the TIL flywheel that has been created over the past 6 to 8 years, that is what we sort of leverage. In terms of the subscription or the ad monetization strategy, I think the biggest lever from an enterprise perspective, which I think was your question, is basically audience, right? So as I said, every signal that the user, any user within the Times Internet ecosystem is creating, all that signal is getting captured centrally in one TIL DMP, and I think that is invaluable because that helps us stitch together a customer journey that cuts across all these interactions. So we don't really look at subscriptions for ads as sort of, or even like premium user experiences, as you said, as competing or conflicting things. I think the beauty is that, if you're able to figure out which user is suited for what, and what's the most optimal way to lift the ARPUs of any particular user, I think that's where the sweet spot is. I think customers in India specifically don't mind too much you making money off them, as long as you're transparent about it, as long as you're giving them value in return for it. I think what we have seen in our experience is that ads, people are broadly okay with it, right? And people expect it as if they are getting value for it. They're not made to pay like infinite amounts of money for content. If you're showing them ads, they're broadly okay with it, but you have to figure it out. You have to understand which user is what. India is a very diverse country, and that's what we tell to all the partners that we sort of partner with, who are global partners, right? India is not one country. There are like 15, 16, 20 countries in it, right? There is an urban India and a rural India and a North India and a South India. So if you aren't able to understand the profile of a user, the preferences of a user early, then you are likely to make very grave mistakes. What works for Gautam as an experience and what works for Vivek as an experience is very different. So I think that's the key, and that's what we're able to do within Ghana, that very quickly able to understand that, okay, this user probably seems ready to buy a subscription. Or this user is probably okay with watching ads. His engagement is not going down, so maybe we can up the volume a little bit, monetize him a bit more on that front, and we create a full-fledged ARPU ladder within TIL. That this business has a lower ARPU, so it needs a wider base to grow revenue. This business is a very high ARPU, so it will probably be able to monetize a lower base at a higher ARPU. And we follow that ARPU ladder principle throughout our entire ecosystem, leveraging DMP, crosswalk, and the TIL flywheel. So maybe I've given a slightly longish answer, but in short, I would say that these things are not at conflict with each other at all. I think we are able to figure out the sweet spot for the user and sort of create like a one-on-one partnership with him. Is it okay to monetize you like that? And the user will politely give you a signal, yes, it is okay to monetize me like that. And
the
then
transparency in that relationship, which makes you a sort of a co-creator of an experience with your users. And it's all about pulling in your users with exciting experiences rather than just push services to them.
Yes, Gautam. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, we're almost at the last leg of the conversation. So let me come to Chandar to understand, the pandemic made remote office and collaboration tools a reality, which in turn increased the requirement of these solutions by large enterprise companies. So how have digital infrastructure companies like Tata Communications equipped their sales teams to better understand their customer requirements and create customer-ready solutions?
Yes, it's a fantastic question. And I think I'd just like to pick on the phrase that Vikrant mentioned, know more to do more, right? So I mean, within Datacom, and for that matter, any customer obsessed entity, it's about capturing the context, knowing the customer context, right? Even if we want to create a super fans, whatever methodology we use, or a simple fan, it's about knowing the context, right? So I think that's super critical. Now, if we look at it, what actually pandemic brought to all of us, this whole non-verbal clue, right? The expressions of a conversation which was happening just went to the screen. So technically speaking, I'm talking to screen right now, as all of us are, right? So how do you capture these clues, right? And now you put a global scale to it, where you have a customer, or let's say sales organization, and voice sales, or the customer facing organization, right? Spread globally. Now, how do you get it? And now you have to collaborate. Like I said, our play is complex, right? Our customers are demanding, and rightly so. We need to stand to their expectations. So we have a diverse set of people getting together. So I think it's all about now collaboration, which was happening, I would say, relatively seamlessly. But I mean, but with this pandemic, it became a little bit of there came a wedge, right? So therefore, I think what is utmost needed is a platform that will grow and scale with you to capture the customer context. When you capture the customer context, then it's not about the customer capturing only the customer context. It's also then percolating it, sharing it within your internal stakeholders who has to work upon it and create a value proposition. For example, our SCDX proposition, which we rolled out last year on the back of us about the same one. It's a secure, connected digital experience, right? So it kind of manifested the data point that we captured from the various channels, and our CRM platform has been phenomenal, growing with us, moving with us to capture these data points and surface of the insights out of it. Like I said, as part of our earlier, the question or the digital transformation that we are undergoing, we also kind of employ a couple of AI models, which is actually sniffing, going deeper into these data sets, surfacing the insights to our customers, to our internal, I would say stakeholders like account managers, the solution architects, the project managers, the program managers, the technology guys, to sniff it out of what are the conversations happening and how do we embark on it, how do we leverage this information. So therefore, in short, it's about capturing the context, and then it just does not mean to capture the context. You just need to react onto it and build an experience part of it, and then go back to the customer in whatever shape and format you want to take to the conversation to the next level. And that's how I would say we have enabled our internal stakeholders. We have enabled them, equipped them with these insights to drive the outcomes that they are looking for, their customers are looking for.
Absolutely. I guess it's harnessing collaboration can bring about increase in content and connectivity, something which Zubin had mentioned earlier. And in this conversation, as we see, a wide range of topics being discussed, it's as when we speak of collaboration, Chandra, between the tech players, if you can talk about how Tata Communications works with Salesforce, if you can give some of those collaboration examples as well, that would be great for the audience to also understand how the tech ecosystem itself uses collaboration, not just as a word, but also for action.
I would say, we have had a very harmonized relationship with the Salesforce. Where I don't think I see them as a vendor, so to speak. I don't like to use that word. It's more of a partnership that we have harmonized, right? Where there's an appreciation of what you are trying to do and what is something, you should be doing it out. See, in this wide world, it's very easy to get lost. I think where we have seen the benefit is that a kind of a hand-holding and guidance, because of course their aperture is much more wider than what we have. Right? Let's say we will have a one use case in our mind, right? So with this, I would say this partnership has manifested beautifully for us, and we're actually only taking to the next level, right? I mean, I just can't think about one word that it has stopped there. We are continuously evolving, revolving, moving, and becoming, I would say, leaner, fitter, and ready for the future.
All right, Vikrant, what would you like to add here?
Thanks for everyone's very meaningful soundbites. We are becoming almost like a fulcrum of everybody talked the word experience. In our mind, there are three circles, okay, of how experience are getting created, and we needed to be at the lab, so to say, on all the three words. if you were to imagine three circles of data, code, and some sort of messaging or a UI, basically a UI layer. There is a user interface layer where everybody is consuming stuff. Okay, there is an element of data or message at the back end, whether it's a communication related message or basically the data churning out a relevant offer or data churning out a right kind of next best action to do. The third piece is, so one is data, second is a UI on which you're surfacing, and third is this whole nervous system called software, which is the code itself. And the code word, the entire platform world is changing to clicks and not really code. Okay, so we are reaching almost like no software situation, clicks but not code situation. And this is a mega trend, which gives a humongous amount of agility to create experiences in hours, in days, and not do those BRS documents of the next experience and churn out that outcome in 4 months and a product life cycle of 3 quarters, etc. So we are able to ship, for example, at Salesforce, 3 new releases every year to our customers, which means the entire multi-tenant customer set is on the same platform across the globe, which is like OS getting upgraded in your phone while your apps are your own apps kind of thinking. In a B2B context, that thinking is fairly complex. And that's what I said. We are constantly at this topic of trying to manage these 3 circles. And in these 3 circles, intersection is actually UX. Okay, that's user experience. So UI, code, and data. If you draw these 3 circles, the intersection is what turns out to be the experience, the user experience. And we have expanded ourselves to be not just the customer side of user experience, but customers, employees, partners, suppliers, and so we become like a stakeholder experience platform, so to say. So that's where we are. Yeah,
you're at the intersection of engagement, experience, and excitement. I guess you could say that. But in any conversation that we have around digital content consumption, we also need to discuss data, content, and data security. So let me come to you, Zubin, for that. According to a recent report by KPMG, India could be home to 1 billion digital users by 2028. So while new age entertainment platforms do provide high quality content at affordable rates, there are issues around data privacy and data security. And as Vivek said, any great engagement is all about open relationships that you have with your customers. So in that context, when you talk about data privacy and data security, being a media house that is trusted by many consumers over the years, what kind of measures are you taking to create secure experiences for your customers that are not intrusive and protect key customer information?
So Gautam, as far as data, let me just talk a little bit about our entire B2C piece around data and data security. We've been extremely cautious when it comes to walking and treading the B2C path, both from a front end point of view as well as from a back end point of view. When I say front end, I mean the experience. The experience for us is absolutely paramount, and I think there's no other compromise. We've actually made sure that at every stage, when we look at customer experience, we have teams. I have a team who only looks at customer delight. I don't even call it experience or service or support. It's customer delight. And their job is to basically rip open the entire app every single day. And if they don't, that means they haven't done their job. So I think that is the level of paranoia we have when it comes to experience on the front end from a customer standpoint. We also look at data from or at least customer experience from the back end, where we review customers' experiences on how they have consumed and what they have clicked on and where they have dropped off and things like that. So we also know how that helps us in our UI UX, and that adds in every month. We have a change, we have a release update on just changing the UX so that customers know that we are trying to do what they really are struggling with at a particular point, whether it's payment or whether it's actually looking at a video or dropping off from the player page or whatever it could be, So I think that is something we are extremely careful and cautious of. We're also very closely speaking to our customers. We do voice of customer surveys very regularly and just keep getting feedback from customers saying, are you happy? A customer who's not really very, not he's subscribed but not using, we call them up and ask them what is their reason for not using. Customers using actively, we ask them what is their reason for using. So we do a lot of this as well. And when it comes to keeping data secure, there are two layers of security that we are again very cautious of. One is about compliance. So we are extremely cautious, and we are GDPR compliant thoroughly. So we make sure that data is intact, it stays within our domain, and a customer who is giving us data, if he is giving us his personally identifiable information, we take relevant disclaimers from him that if we are working with partners, we might have to share that with them to avail of a service through them, our service through them. And I think that is something that we've done pretty successfully through our robust tech, both in-house and outsourced. And that works partly on the privacy side. When it comes to securing our platform as such, I think this is one plague and one competition that we've not talked about is piracy. I think that itself is the biggest competition that we all face in digital, especially the content guys here. If we had to kind of put a finger on it, is there a way in which we can eradicate it? The answer is no, because that world is always going to be 2 steps ahead of us and any tech, and which is why it actually is so rampant. But I think that is one area that we really, as an industry, if there's a way, both through policy, through legal, as well as through tech, if there's a solution to kind of create content protection for the rightful owner and avoid such pilferage, it'll do a world of good to the growth of the industry. We are all on this journey of gaining subscribers and paid subscribers. Vivek talked about advertising being dead. To some extent, I do agree. AVOD as a model on digital doesn't really work. It's only a mitigation technique for your costs of running the business. So it's not a profitable model at all in any way. So yeah, privacy and piracy both are very important, and we do take care of them in our own way.
Well, as the problems come up, so do the solutions. So let's see how that conversation evolves. But we're almost out of time. So let's look at the crystal ball. And I'll ask Vikrant and Chandar for their views on this, on how they see the partnership between telecom, tech, and media develop over the next few years, where edge use cases become the norm. Chandar, we'll come to you first and then to Vikrant.
I think in my mind, it's not just about a telecom or media. If we look at it today, the technology is getting embedded into every industry, right? So there is more and more, any industry, you look at BFSI, you look at mechatronics, what is now, you look at any industry. So essentially the lines between industry is getting blurred and blurred. However, if I look at it a little bit more closely, specifically between the tech, media, telecom space, it's actually interwoven, right? And if I look at it internally within our ecosystem, I see my SMEs who are hardcore telecom, communication, technology tech, talking the lingo of a media guy, right? Because they kind of resonate with this scenario. And likewise, I'm sure my colleagues in the media houses are also talking the tech, right? Now, as we kind of fast forward this conversation, look at it, there's a utter need of modernization of infrastructure needed to make sure that the amount of data we are kind of generating, getting created, it does not get clogged, so to speak, in our existing infrastructures. There's definitely a need to eliminate these bottlenecks, right? So that the content, it goes seamlessly. And equally important is that when, as the stabilization or commoditization, if I may say so, of 5G use cases coming in, the edge gets a little bit in our backyard every second day. How do we make sure that the transformation of these data sets for the decision making happens really at the speed of light, right? So those, I would say, are the logical inflection points where the things are moving and where the enterprises have to be ready to make sure that they are ready for this kind of an interoperability for data, and not just within the particular region, but across the data centers that you have across the globe, right? The network resources are there enabled to support it out, right? We don't have an, so to speak, an overclogged, pipes or the connectivity layers, which may impact the data transmission. Sorry, so as to make it, you are in some sense, like I said earlier, future-proof and ready for the future, considering the evolution that's happening in our ecosystem overall.
All right, Vikrant, over to you. Bring it all together. It's been a wide-ranging conversation, and as you mentioned earlier, the word acceleration keeps coming up again and again. So as more opportunities come up, how do you see this partnership between telecom, tech, and media develop over the next few years? If you could give us a forward-looking statement before we wrap up the show.
I think it's the future is of convergence in all sense. The acceleration will continue. However, what we are seeing at our end, the need to go to lab is going to become like daily. The speed to productize will become the days of even quarterly releases may come down to even a shorter time frame outcomes. At least the customers are already, you heard it from everyone here, they created productized outcomes at much faster speed than a typical software assembled outcome would be. Need for players like us, we are becoming almost like a motherboard to assemble your own Google gadgets or your own gadgets of you're wanting to play with. So whether it's a B2B offering or a B2C offering, we will continue to become the motherboard of creating experience, which is relevant to that particular Lego block view that an enterprise or a consumer want to see. And that nimbleness is what will keep us on toes.
Well, I'm sure your marketing team will be very glad to hear that line that you just mentioned, the motherboard of customer experience. I'm sure there's a lot of applications of that line across. But fair point taken. There is an unlimited range of opportunities as transformation speeds up. But we've run out of time, so that brings us to the end of this 4th episode of the Mint Think Tank series titled Connecting with E-Experiences, the confluence of tech and entertainment, presented by Salesforce. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for sharing their insights and experiences on the topic. And of course, thank you to our viewers for tuning in. This is Gautam Srinivasan signing off.